Hey gamers, I've been playing a lot of 2B lately, and I kind of wanted to make a video documenting some of the small optimizations for the level for anyone who's going for a competitive time. This guide will probably be helpful to anyone going for like sub 130 or so, I'd say, or pushing beyond that to like a sub 125 or something. This is kind of like focused at like mid top level players or something. You can maybe still get something out of it if you're like learning the level, but it's going to be focusing mostly on like one or two frames here or there, that sort of thing. Basically, things that you would only find out by like kind of extensively labbing the level, or having someone tell you. So in cases like that, I kind of want to like demystify things, have information be more readily available. But at the same time, this video isn't going to be super formal or anything. There's going to be minimal editing. There's going to be a lot of ums and ahs. There's going to be keyboard clicking, a lot of random jump cuts and stuff. A lot of Madeline sneezing too. But hopefully it's still helpful. Feel free to skip around. I'll have timestamps for each room and stuff. And I'll have a lot to say for some rooms and nothing to say for others. So hope it's useful. Hope you enjoy, etc., etc. So some people struggle with this hyper B hop in room one a lot. I do too. I'm one of those people. The main problem that makes it hard is that you can't really buffer the hyper B hop out of dash freeze frames because you don't have any. So you have to do a really short unbuffered B hop, and I'm really bad at pressing a button like really quickly. So like this is just hellish for me. It's really inconsistent and dumb. If you're going for a sweaty time, you don't really need to worry about this in general. But there's two good setups to this that get you freeze frames to set up the B-hop, which makes it significantly easier. So there's Talia's setup, which is a bit slower, but you do a super to the right, and then you do a wave dash, and then from there you just do a hyper B-hop. So like this roughly. And then my setup that I do in runs is that it's a 2-frame window. I do a demo hyper right, and then I dash right out of it again to snap me to the floor, and then I do a hyper B hop. And I did it kind of slowly, but it saves a little bit of time over till you set up like 1 or 2 frames. Both are still kind of tricky, but with auto reset script and stuff, you can reset this pretty fast. So if you're going for like, 125, 124 or something, definitely recommend doing this. Otherwise, don't worry about it, I'd say. So for this section right here, you want to upright demo into the stream block to be as high as possible into it. And for this stream block, I see a lot of people double jump out of it. You actually don't really want to do that. You kind of just want to buffer the dash out of it, because double jumping out of the dream block from an upright dash gives you like just barely over 240 speed, and if you dash, it immediately puts you at 240 speed. So you can do like a single jump and buffer a dash out of that, but it's like 1 frame saved, I think. And if you do like 1 or 2 jumps and then you dash late, you're just losing time. So be mindful of that. And another thing to be mindful of is whenever you go through this dream block right here, first of all, you want to double jump out of it. But if you're low out of this dream block, which I'm not really here, so like let me do like this, you'll see that like here-ish, I'm rubbing against this wall for a few frames, and that's bad. I'm just like stationary, not moving for a couple of frames. So you can enter the stream block higher without losing any time, and you want to do that here because otherwise it's like just like a bottleneck thing. Like height is a little bit of a bottleneck here, so you just want to be up a bit. Bumping into this wall loses like 3 to 4 frames, so that's something to be mindful of. So something a lot of people miss exiting this room. Obviously you want to do the transition wall bounce. It saves a decent amount of time, and you can just like buffer the up dash. It's pretty simple to do. Like just be as far left as possible, obviously. But something people miss is that you can actually buffer a right dash out of this wall bounce here. Most people just like wall bounce kind of high and wait. You can just buffer though. So like, some people do like that, but you can instead, do like that. That's what it looks like buffered. It's just entering it really well. If you hit the wall bounce, you can buffer it every time and save a couple of frames. So a neat small optimization here is that this corner right here, a lot of people enter this room from the right side, but it's actually worse to do that by 1 frame, because whenever you wall jump, you can corner boost off of this, and you can get a tiny bit more speed past the corner. So like this, for example, is what a lot of people do. I'm not doing it incredibly optimally. But, like that's decent versus that. So you can see like 1-2 frames saved or so. Again, you want to jump off the left wall, do a corner boost there, and then dash right. Saves a couple of frames. So first half of this room, one of the worst rooms in the level. Not a lot advice I can give for you. Try out either my strat or Alice strat. Both of them are basically around the same speed. I just favor mine a little bit. It felt a little bit more consistent time-wise to me and that sort of thing. Felt like less moving parts to optimize. Both suck balls though. That said, the last half of this room, people are losing a lot of time here and not really realizing it. So what a lot of people do is they'll enter the stream block like quite high, so like up in the first half or something, and then they'll kind of fall in wall bounce. So like a time comparison, I guess. Like that maybe, like not quite that exaggerated, but something like that. What you want to do instead is you want to enter like the lower third of the dream block or so. And doing that, you can just double jump and hold jump the entire time, and you'll be higher to the ceiling at the end. So it'll be like this. And that can save you like 0.1, 0.2 or so over falling a little bit. And it just feels a lot nicer, and it's a lot more consistent. So, more in that for sure. If you're really struggling with this room though, and again, if you're not going for like an incredibly sweaty time, like if you're just going for like, 127, 126 or so, this is fine. You can just do a single jump here and do this setup, because the optimal way to do it is a double jump, and I myself am really fucking bad at this. So like just doing one jump, it loses like 0.2, 0.3 or so, but it's an option. Another option is to just do like this basically, which is kind of shitty and slow, but if it gets you through the robe and into the deep part of the level where you can lose a lot of time, then it's fine. Just kind of focus on getting rooms past start. You don't need to worry about it unless you go for, like a top 5 time or something. Alright, so as a whole, this is one of the hardest screens in the level, like, definitely. But there are some cheesy things you can do. One of them loses only, like, 2 frames, and the other thing loses no time at all. In fact, it might save you time on average. So I'll just break down both of them. The hardest coin, in my opinion, is actually the middle one. It's really easy to buffer inputs, which you can't really do for the middle coin, or you just die. You have to, like, just barely do inputs past the buffer window, and it's really frustrating. But for the other coins, also just, like, technically difficult, but you'll get them down with a lot of practice. This is one of my most practiced rooms by far in the level. So for the first coin, what you can do is a lot of people struggle with, like, the tiny wall bounce out of the little nub sticking out of the wall. You don't need to do that, though. A strat that is almost just as fast is to do a neutral jump out of the dream block and then up dash and just climb. So I'll show you that. So some stuff to be mindful of here. Whenever you do this reverse hyper, you want to kind of hold jump for a while, because you want to bump into this wall up there to kill your speed. If you do too short of a jump, you'll fling into the spikes. It might be kind of hard for me to recreate here, but it'll happen to you occasionally. Or like this. You want to hold jump so that you lose all of your speed on your way down. So one last thing for here is that on your fall, you also want to drift right a little bit, because if you don't do that and you go too fast, you can get bodied by battle line on the way over and just die. But that aside, it's also just optimal to do this. You want to drift closer to the dream block so that you can enter it like a couple of frames earlier. So rather than just falling like this, and as you can see I'm dying, you want to drift to the right a tiny bit just to dodge her just barely. So that's something to be mindful of. So unfortunately I don't have a whole lot of helpful advice for the second and third coins. Just kind of do it how you see it in runs. Again, you can't really buffer inputs here. You have to just do buttons just barely after the buffer, and it's really frustrating. But for this ending section, I have a really nice setup. So what a lot of people do here is they'll just press way too many buttons. They'll do like a hyper B-hop into a wall bounce to land onto this block. What you can do instead is you can just fall, and then do a super right, and then you want to up dash at roughly the time you bump into the right wall. And if you do that, you can just hold left and land on the block pretty clearly. You don't want to rush it, and you kind of want to subtly wait after the super, but just don't do it incredibly aggressively, because you don't really need to. It's kind of high risk, low reward. But if you do these two things, you can land on the block really smoothly and get this cycle pretty easily. So like that, but more optimized would be something like that. So for this upcoming room, this is an optimization that applies to a lot of things in this game, but it also applies to this room too. You want to do a short climb jump on transition so that you can do a demo hyper instead of a wave dash. It just saves a couple of frames. Something else to mention is that the hyper B-hop at the start of this room is pretty tight, And optimally, it only saves 3 frames. So if you execute it perfectly, you're only saving 3 frames. On average, you're going to be saving like 1, maybe 2. So personally, I'm only now implementing this, going for 123. But even then, I'm kind of shaky on it. Like, I don't know if I want to do it or not. But if you're really struggling with this, I would not bother. It's pretty shitty. So what you want to do is jump in demo hyper. You don't want to wave dash like this. So jump, demo hyper, and the B-hop saves like no time. So just be mindful of that. So another thing to be mindful of this room too is that you want to enter this first dream block as far right as possible. You want to maximize the time you're at hyper speed because it's just a little bit faster than dashing. So for example, you don't want to enter towards the middle or so, like here. You want to enter more like here, and as you can see, it saves like a frame. So this room's pretty shitty. If you're big time struggling with it, or you're going for like full game or a bingo or something, like you're doing this in bingo and you want consistent strats, this is really good. Take notes. Even then, I might recommend this, you know, like just for like 126, 125 or something. This is probably fine. So the IL strat normally is to do a jump out of the stream block in ultra and do the upright from there. Really terrible strat. I kill so many runs here, so it looks like, you know, this or something. I'm too far right, so I don't get any speed. I dash too early, so I'm dead. I dash too early, so I'm dead. Dash too... There you go. Something like that. It's really shitty and annoying, but the setup's really nice. So you want to dash right here. You want to buffer the right dash without holding right. And then once you land, you just do down right, up right, and it's super consistent. So yeah, just like that. If you're doing bingo or something, or just want like a safe strat for this room, just do that. It only loses like 0.1, 0.15 over the IL strat, and it's super cozy. So this is something still not really worth worrying about, but doing a jump out of the down right actually saves a frame. It lets you enter the dream block frame earlier. So like if I'm buffering both my dashes here, I get 748, but if I do a jump, I get 731. It saves a frame. You won't always save it. But it's pretty riskless to go for, so I just go for it. Make sure you're buffering the upright out of the jump, otherwise you're losing time doing this. You know, don't like jump for like 0.1 and then dash, that's bad obviously. But if you just like plink the buttons, you can go for it and there's no risk. So assuming you're doing the transition wall bounce strat, which I would recommend doing, I'll explain it later, but whenever you're exiting this room, I prefer to use 2 jump buttons just to make it easier to execute, because if you're tapping the jump button, you're releasing it for a bit, and you're probably falling a bit and losing a bit of time. So, like, this, for example, or something, like you're doing it kind of sloppily and slowly, it's not too great. But what I do is I use 2 jump buttons, and I just hold one of them, like I do one to do the dream jump, and then I do the other to do the wall kick, and I just hold left the entire time, and it looks like this. And it gets me, you know, it saves me a frame on average or so. Just something to keep in mind, and this will come up later, just climbing optimization things, where you want to hold one jump button while you blink the other. It's a good habit to get into, but I'll explain a really significant instance of it later. So there's 2 ways to do this room. A typical entry for this room, you'll be somewhere like here on a dream block, just doing a regular wall jump. And this means you have to do a climb jump here to get up, which I've never liked. It's difficult to optimize. Like, sometimes you get good corner boosts and you just die like that or something. It can be a little bit frustrating. So I devised a transition wall bounce strat that's really nice. That is the same exact speed, same speed for tasks and stuff. So I'll show that off now, and I think it's becoming more common in runs, but it's real nice. So transition wall bounce strat, what you want to do is, first of all, you don't want to buffer a dash out of the wall bounce. You want to wall bounce for just a tiny bit past the buffer and then dash, just to get as high as possible so that you don't have to climb jump off of this middle pillar. If you're having to climb jump off of the middle pillar, you're losing all the time the strat saves, which again, it basically breaks even. In fact, I think it might even be a little bit faster, but for tasks, it broke essentially even. So you want to go through like roughly there or so. There's a sweet spot here. There's like a frame perfect dash you can do that lands you perfectly here. Through the dream block, you'll get a feel for it. Like, you'll see a visual cue of like the perfect spot to dash, and if you do that, you can anticipate a really fast landing here. And from here, you just buffer up left and then right demo. So again, you don't want to buffer the dash, because if you buffer the dash here, you have to climb jump here. So you just want to wait a tiny bit and then go, that was too early. So like that would be good. So this is something nice, something worth learning for sure if you struggle with this room. So again, for the start of this room, you want to do a climb jump into demo hyper instead of doing a wave dash. So do that instead of doing like this. Just saves a couple of frames. So for this room, for the fourth coin, you want to enter the dream block as far right as possible. If you enter it towards the left, you're going to lose a little bit of time on the exit. So you want to not enter from like here-ish. You want to go from like here. You want to play it super aggro and just spend as little time in this dream block as possible. Entering it as late as possible can save you like 0.1 or so. It's quite silly, but you need to be aware of it if you're going for a fast time. Just enter this as late as possible. Except for this exit, in some situations you'll be a bit too far left to just drift right and down dash, and you have to do a wall jump off of this wall to the left to save it. You can do it without it, but it's really finicky and risky, and it's also slow. But if you do this wall jump, you only lose a couple of frames over optimal execution of just being able to hold right and down dash. So like normally you would drift right and you either die to here or you maybe die to battle line, but if you jump, you're fine. So just something to be mindful of. It's a nice backup strat. Again, it's not optimal, but there will be a lot of times where you enter this situation you need to do this. So something to be mindful of in this room is that vertical movement is a bottleneck. A lot of people do double jumps and then really aggressive horizontal dashes. That's actually slower by a frame or two though. So for example, something like this is a frame slower to delaying your horizontal dash. There you go. That's a frame slow, or a frame faster to do that. That's another frame faster to do that. So there's no reason to be super aggro on a horizontal dash here. Just delay, space out your jumps a bit, go as high as possible. So one really frustrating thing about this screen is that entering this third dream block far to the right can lose you a ton of time having to drift to the left to the next dream block. So you want to enter this as far left as possible. And with that in mind, if you're playing this greedy, you're going to lose a lot of runs to this up dash. So just to show this off, just like a really aggro up dash will look something like this. But if you do a late up dash, lose a frame here, but like from here or something is really bad. If you do something like that, you're losing like 0.1. If you do it real bad, you can lose like 0.3 or something. So a lot of people also will see is that they'll double jump here, and it'll just kind of fling to the right and do something like this. Almost not quite that drastic, but just be mindful of that. I do a single jump here just because it helps me not overshoot it. So last thing for this room, I think people kind of know this by now, but if you don't, easiest setup for this spike corner boost is to do a wall jump off of the right wall and just hold jump the entire time. You want to make sure you're buffering out of the dream block too. Just buffer a jump out of the dream block and hold left and jump and then hit the corner boost simply. Like that. So something I see a lot in this upcoming room is that people downright dash into the spring. That's slow compared to a climb jump. And for a climb jump, it saves like 3 to 4 frames, upwards to 0.1 if you do the down right and delay the up dash a lot. So something to be aware of here, I'm not going to explain why exactly, but just know that up demoing through dream blocks can boost you up a couple of pixels whenever you exit them, and that's useful here to avoid dying. So right here, if you just buffer the down right out of an up dash, it kills you, but if you do an up demo, it'll boost you up a bit out of the dream block and you'll never die. So that's just something to be aware of. You can do this with just a regular up dash, but you'll have to delay the down right a bit, and you're probably losing frames to that. So like something like that would be slow compared to this buffer like that. So a really funny optimization here is that doing an upwards demo saves a frame over not doing upwards demos. It just makes you pop out of the dream block slightly higher, and it saves a frame. So these are normal dashes here. And then this is demo. 1 frame. What's nice about this is you can just press your demo button here twice, because it's not 2 demos back to back or anything. It's just a demo and a normal dash, and trying to do a demo out of a demo will give you an uncrouch dash. So you just press that button twice. It's not really hard to implement at all. So the strat's easiest to do on keyboard. There's ways to do it on controller or analog, but this is a really nice setup for keyboard if you're already aware of it. For the spike jump, what I do is I wait till I fully accelerate, moving right at the dream block, and I just tap left for a tiny amount of time while holding right, and it sets up this spike jump super consistently. So like you can see my input display, I'm holding right, tapping left. And it's super lenient. And so similarly, this works with a dash through this dream block. Whenever I do this wiggle, you can see I'm grabbing here, and I grab for like several more frames. You grab for 4 frames there. And during that 4-frame window, if you do an upright dash, you can get an upright dash through the corner of the dream block. And it saves 0.1 or so. It's like that. Make sure you do a dream jump out of the dream block to cancel your momentum, because if you don't do that, you'll pop up real high like this. So do a small dream jump and you should be good to go. So for the exit of this room, it's actually fastest to do a right dash into up left to just cut a corner tighter into this dream block. A lot of people though will demo here and then we'll do the up left. And if you do that, you can risk dying here. So like this can happen. But if you do an uncrouch dash here, and then do an up left demo and double jump, it's impossible to die unless you jump too late. So if I do uncrouch dash, double jump, up left, with a demo for the up left, it's impossible to die. And you cut it super cleanly and save a couple of frames doing it. It's like that. Something else to be aware of is that if you're too far left here, this will only happen if you're too far left, but you should just be very aware that this can happen. Sometimes this will happen, where you'll grab the dream block and you won't go through it. So like this. This can be avoided by not holding grab. So whenever you come through this dream block, you want to release grab. So if I hold grab, there's a small chance that you'll do this, but if you don't hold grab, it can't happen. It's just a dream block mechanics thing that's, you know, outside of the scope of this video to explain, but that's the thing. Be aware of it. So I probably have the most to say for this room. I found a completely new route for it that's really nice, and it can get you sub-9s very consistently with practice. It's still pretty hard, but it's a really nice route that I think anyone competitively learning the level now should just learn this route. So the first thing, whenever you go through this dream block, you want to do a jump into Ultra. If you don't jump, then you can risk bunking the ceiling here, but if you jump, then you get a little bit further on Ultra, and it's a lot less frequent for that to happen. It's still possible if you enter this dream block too low, but it's a lot less common. So there's 2 main things to be mindful of on this coin. The first thing is make sure you're doing this horizontal dash as early as possible. The range for it is just outside of the coin. So there's like the range for it is basically here. You can horizontal from this point and you'll go through the dream block. And if you wait till like here or something, you're losing like 0.1 that you could be spending at dash speed instead. So just be aware of that. Another thing is, just like the last room, do not hold grab for this dash, because you will grab this dream block pretty frequently. You want to release grab. It's just a dream block mechanic thing to be aware of. And then from here, just go through this dream block, and then if you're too low here, and you try to updash, you'll miss this coin a lot. It's not happening here, I think. Yeah, okay, there it goes. So you want to buffer a jump out of this down left. So like that, I'll grab the coin. Doesn't lose any time to do, it just secures that you grab this coin. So be aware of that. And it's actually optimal, I believe, comparing, like, here. Yeah, so like 1.088, and then if I'm higher up in the stream block and I do this, not that high. Yeah, it's a couple of frames faster to be lower in the stream block. You don't want to be so low that you die, but it's better than being high, so be mindful of that too whenever you do that wall jump on the left side. So the movement for this last coin is really bad, but I found a pretty easy method of doing this that's not 100% optimal. It loses like 0.1 to perfect execution of other stuff, but it's just so much easier. I was so tired of killing runs in this room and that sort of thing. This is, if you don't do this, this is like probably the hardest room in the level, but with this, it's a lot cozier. So whenever you exit the stream block, just do a single neutral jump, and then immediately after doing the neutral, you want to hold left. So you don't want to do a left dream jump or else you'll miss it, but if you do a neutral and then hold left, it'll get you here every time. And then from here, you just want to do, with your second jump button, just do this. Jump, hold left, and then go right. It's not a wall boost or anything, just do this. If you try to jump or something, then you're overshooting this coin by a little bit. And it's a very important thing, so this is going to be kind of hard to explain, but when you grab this coin, this door starts moving, and you want to wall jump off of this coin door. And if you're hitting this coin super late, and you're just like hanging this jump really high, so... how do I show this off? So something like this, if I'm just slow here, let me just not fast fall, that'll be an easy way to show it off. Then I'm jumping really far left off of this door, like I'm jumping off of the leftmost point. But if I optimize this fall a lot, and I grab this coin really cleanly, then I'm getting this super clean. So like comparing to like this or something, then you can see the difference. Like, it's really bad I'm jumping far left off the door, and I'm losing a bunch of time here. So you want to do this section as cleanly as possible, just like fall immediately after grabbing a coin. And so the easiest way to do that, again, neutral, hold left late, and then just turn it around, and you're good to go. So this is more of a good gameplay habit than like an optimization specific to this room, but I figured I'd point it out. Make sure you're using 2 jump buttons for this. If you use just one and you're tapping it, there's going to be periods of time where you're not holding jump while climbing, and you're going to be suboptimally climbing. So I'm going to do 3 attempts of each. One is going to be just 1 jump button, and then the second half of attempts is going to be 2 jump buttons. So yeah, you can see I'm losing like 3 to 4 frames. Now if I do the same exact movement, but I hold a second jump button and just press jump at the same exact time I was before, I'm just saving frames all over the place. So yeah, that's just something to be aware of. This applies to a lot more than just this screen, but for long extended climbs like this, make sure you're using 2 jump buttons, because it'll just save you frames for free. Before I practice this was literally a 0.1 time save for me. Alright, if you're going to take anything away from this video, make it be this last room strat. If you're just playing bingo or something, learn this as soon as possible. So, old strat for this room was horrible. Before you had to like climb jump on enter and get an upright dash here, you bonk the wall a lot, you don't get like dashes for the stream block a lot. It's really bad, and worse yet is for this section right here, you need to do a small climb jump in order to get into this cubby up here. Because if you don't do that, this is kind of exaggerated, but like from here or something, if I do a up left demo and then I try to go from here, I just die. So you would have to do a turnaround climb jump here, and you can't buffer this. So if I try to buffer this, then I get a left dream jump, or a right dream jump rather, instead of a climb, and that kills run instantly. So with that in mind, here's a new way of doing this room that is way better. If you downright dash into the spring, and then buffer an upright dash, it sets up a perfect height to be able to buffer everything for the rest of the room. So you don't want to buffer this downright dash into the spring, you just want to wait a tiny bit, but every other input in this room is buffered. And it is very nice. So like, again, the climb jump, if I try to buffer everything, I die right here. But you do this, and it just works. Yeah, this is like great. Like if you're doing bingo or something, learn this instantly. Like there's no reason to do anything else for this room. This is both the fastest thing and the easiest thing. So I really don't have much to add to this room beyond don't choke forehead. The only thing really is at the end, make sure you're doing your up dash through the heart instead of having to drift your up dash to the right. This might be kind of hard to show off. Okay, yeah, I can show this off like this. So if, to kind of exaggerate it, don't do like this or something. Like, you can still collect the dash with the heart. Like there, if I drifted right into the heart, I would have collected it and it still would have worked, but it would have been so optimal. So for this last wall bounce, make sure you're holding right so that you just immediately dash into it. So I know this video was kind of unfocused, like, kind of rushed, but I just want to get something out in a couple hours. Just have this information out for people because, it's hard information for people to learn unless they spend a lot of time living the level, and a lot of people are, in like the 128, 127 range and are wanting to push further, or even push into like 128, 127 range from a 130. So I hope some of this stuff is useful for that, and just like keep an eye out for small optimizations that are relatively easy to implement. Beyond that, I'm still working on a movement tutorial. Hopefully that'll be the next video I put out. I just started a job and stuff though, so I have other obligations and stuff going on, but there'll be more focus in that video, more editing, that sort of thing. So that'll be coming out hopefully sometime June. Until then, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about the level or anything I said in this video. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching again.